everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Karma Bryant, and this is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Thank you, to all the new subscribers that have joined this tribe. I am so honored and appreciative that you will find something valuable that I would have to share with you concerning your journey, either out of a relationship with a narcissist, an understanding of what you're going through and how the minds of these individuals are and what you're going through, so that you know that you're not crazy and what you're experiencing and what you see or what you hear is actually true. You are not crazy. And so today I wanted to talk about the let's give it a title. I haven't given it a title yet. The narcissist. So visual cues or the visual evidence of fuel levels in the narcissist. And the title will probably be very similar to that. But let's talk about how you can see a visual cue with the narcissist and how you can tell their level of the fuel level, when they're going to recharge, when they've recharged or refueled, or when their fuel levels are low. And so you guys understand that a narcissist does not have normal relationship. Most people are still trying to figure out this narcissist thinking in a normal way of thinking. None of you who do not have narcissistic personality disorder, these type of person, a cluster B personality disorder, you don't understand the mind of a narcissist, and you probably will never understand the mind of a narcissist from a narcissist perspective. You understand the mind of a narcissist based off of what you're learning and what you're being taught. But to really be inside of the head of a narcissist is almost like being in a black hole. They have no capacity of feeling empathy and compassion for people, and they look at people as sources of supply to get fuel. Some type of fuel. Most people, I've heard people talk about, well, I don't have anything to give. I don't have any money or material things. Well, you have something to offer. There's something that you have that they want, whether it's your beauty, whether it be your worship of them, catering to them, doing all the things for them to make them feel valuable is what they need from you. Even if you don't have material possessions, there's something that they want from you. And so those of you that you understand that there's a primary source of supply, there's secondary source of supply, and there's tertiary. There we go. I like to mess up a word. Tertiary source, third source supply. Third source supply, the tertiary. Tertiary, I can laugh at my own self. See, you guys have to learn to laugh at yourself. But that third source supply, some of you guys said, that's what I was. 9 times out of 10 you won't, because they don't connect with tertiary or third source supply. Third source supply is usually people that say good morning to them at Starbucks, or hey, how you doing, or give them a smile during the day, or they come in to a grocery store and compliment it on their shoes. That's that third source of supply that feeds them all day long to balance them out during the day. They normally don't connect with those individuals. Secondary source supply, some of you assume that there's only one secondary source supply. There's one of many secondary sources of supply. There's not usually one secondary source supply. There's many secondary sources of supply, and then you have the primary source of supply. And if you think of it like this, in a car, that it takes a lot of things to make a car run. The most important thing is fuel to keep the car moving. Those of you that have run out of gas, and all of us have that testimony, that have run out of gas, the gas, you see that needle down on empty, you're like, I can make it just a few more miles. And when that car give out, the car is not going to start, it's not moving, it's not going anywhere until you get a little gas in that tank just to get it to the gas station. But once that car runs out of fuel, that car is not going to move. It won't crank. The electricity may come on it, so the electricity, or not, the battery is working, but the car is not going to do anything, is not going anywhere, is not moving. No different than the narcissist. A narcissist, and there was a nurse on here that said that her experience with narcissists that are in not nursing homes, but in end-of-life care, in the end-of-life care, her experience was that many of them don't have visitors and they're left to die all by themselves. Well, if you imagine a narcissist that has lived their life always getting large amounts of fuel, they may have been a somatic narcissist where they were always beautiful and handsome and always had the gift of gab, and now they're in a nursing home. They can't do anything. They can't move. They're immobile. The only supply that the only fuel that they're getting is from the nurses and the doctors that come and take care of them and rotate. So most of the time they're spent all alone in their own head. A lot of them become suicidal, and some of them are not mobile anymore. And so you come in and you see them really dwindle away. It's almost like they look like the crypt keeper. They dry up. They're like they're just dying where they are. They don't have fuel. Well, with the primary source supply, it's like that primary source supply is that source of supply that they have spent a large amount of time and energy hooking, love bombing, and establishing, rooting them, making sure that they don't go anywhere. And that primary source supply is the one that goes through the most abuse by the narcissist. The narcissist has trained them through love bombing, have molded them where they accept, regardless of whether they're angry or whether they're hurt, that they know for a fact that primary source normally is not going anywhere. And they have been trained to be able to handle that much pain, and the pain that they inflict on that primary source supply. They have been trained to receive that amount of pain and hurt, and they release a copious amount of fuel for that narcissist. Let's say that the narcissist, we'll get to that in a minute, but they're trained to be able to handle copious amounts of abuse while exerting copious amounts of fuel to fuel that narcissist. These are the ones that, their husbands and wives that have established a home and children, and they have this hope, and this is my man, this is my woman, and I'm going to fight to the end, and I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do. Doesn't matter how the narcissist gets in trouble with secondary sources of supply. Secondary source supply come up against him. They run to the primary source supply as a protective mechanism, as a protection. And this is my woman, this is my man. And of course, that primary source feels, they're doing what they're doing, but I have hope one day him or her is going to change. And so that primary source is the most abused. That's why a lot of people who have been with a narcissist that with a primary source supply, when they find out that they have been having an affair, or if they've got another source supply, or they leave, they're heartbroken because they don't understand, how can you treat her or him better than me? Why would you, you're so tender, you're so nice, because they're in the love bombing stage. Now keep in mind that a narcissist has to release, they need a lot of fuel, but in order to love bomb, especially a primary source, or when they love bomb, they're exerting a lot of fuel. They're putting a lot of energy, time, and effort into wooing and being very meticulous and strategic at getting this source of supply. So they put out a lot of energy, they put out a lot of fuel. And so when I was talking, when as the title, excuse me, you guys, as the title states, to the visual evidence of the fuel levels of a narcissist is this. So you can look at some of your pictures. Some of you guys don't go and look on their Facebook pages or social media. Some of you guys that come back on, you're like, I was hoovered because I told you stay away from the social media. But if you can think for a minute, or if you recall some pictures that you have, or, some of you have trolled their sites where you saw them with the new source supply. Let me show you something that you probably didn't notice. And some of you do notice, you probably noticed but didn't know what it was. When a narcissist is exerting a lot of energy and a lot of fuel themselves to love bomb a primary source or a potential primary source or any kind of source supply, they exert a lot of fuel. That's why they need a lot of fuel. That's why they have secondary sources of supply, because as they're exerting that energy to that potential, or trying to not hoover but love bomb, they're exerting, they're giving out a lot. They're working really hard to pull that in. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of fuel. They have to work very hard in love bombing and taking you out to eat and impressing you and saying the right things, making sure they don't mess up. From time to time you'll see that little slip, but they go back and they correct it. And so, but they need a pumping station. So they, as they're, they would never do anything to hurt me. They're not, it's just me. You feel like you're the only one. They have other sources of supply because they need to pump fuel in them in order to keep giving you the fuel. And so what you'll notice is as they're giving out that energy, they're having to suck the fuel from someone, whoever they're connected to. Look at how they start looking. That person that they're sucking the fuel from begins to look drained. They begin to look empty. They have this empty stare in their face. They begin to look drawn in. They begin to look haggard. It's like the glow of their skin is gone. While this narcissist, while they're sucking this fuel, looks glowing and looks happy and healthy, and hair looks great, and they just look, healthy and full and full of life. They have that glow and that energy that they're pumping into that new source of supply. That glow that person has. Girl, you look so happy, girl. Girl, you would have met, or if it's a female, he looks, the guy that she is love bombing, he looks good. He's got a pep in his step, what's up, girl? Hey, y'all. They got that energy, because they're being fueled with that love bombing. They're being bombed with love bomb, fuel bomb. But where do you think they're getting the fuel from? They don't have that much fuel to give out. Why do you think that? Because of the fact that they're always looking for sources of supply for fuel. So they don't have it in them. They got to get it from somewhere. So they're sucking it from somewhere. So when a person is being love bombed, you can see just how happy they look and their skin is glowing. And yet they're pulling it from somewhere. Now, let's say that, let's talk about the primary source and the narcissist. You can tell when the narcissist is being fueled by a secondary source supply, because he or she looks vibrant and healthy and happy, and the skin is glowing, the skin looks filled out, their eyes, I don't know if they have a sparkle or not, but maybe just a reflection, I don't know what they have, but they just got this glow about them. They look so happy. And then the primary source looks drawn out and tired, wrinkles in their face when they never had wrinkles, look like they have shadows, and their skin is dull, and they just look haggard and tired, because of the fact that because that narcissist is getting fuel from somewhere else, and that primary source has been discarded. And you can see it on pictures. When they're together, you can tell that the primary source looks haggard and sad, in their eyes. No matter how they smile, their eyes tell the story. You can tell that individual is just drained. And then that narcissist looks so full and happy because they got new supply. They're sucking supply from somewhere else. Now, let's say the primary source finds out, get into it, threatens to leave and everything. So what the narcissist has to do is they have to start taking that fuel that they have and start interjecting it back into the primary to win the primary back. So the primary now is being love bombed and hoovered and love bombed, and I'm gonna take you out to dinner, I'm gonna bring you breakfast in bed, I'm gonna buy you gifts, and you want that new car, I'm gonna put myself in debt to get you that new car, I'm gonna get you that house, everything that you've ever asked for. I made a mistake, and I can't live without you. And so as they're pumping this fuel into that primary source that may get ready to discard them, and they're not ready to let go because they haven't really locked in a new source supply, they begin to take that fuel that they got and they begin to pump it into the primary source. So then all of a sudden you see them again, and it's like that primary source, she's vibrant or he's vibrant and looking healthy. Girl, you look so much better, or you look so much better, sir. You got your pep back and you look happy. You got that sparkle back in your eyes and everything. Is because that narcissist had to go into overdrive to resecure their primary so that the primary wouldn't go anywhere. But then what you'll start noticing is the narcissist will start looking drained and dark and dried out, and you can tell that they're losing fuel. And so that's when it kicks in that they have to go get more fuel. Once they've secured that primary, they're on a hunt again. They're predators on the hunt to feed. They're like vampires. They have to feed in order to sustain and survive. They have to. This is a cycle of a narcissist. Now, let's say that, the way that they have done things, and, things change. And so let's say that this time it's taking longer to win that primary back. This time it's taking longer and it's taking more energy, where it's getting to a point where they're on a red level of, I'm going to die if what happens is that the fuel that they're pumping into you, they're getting on the inside, they're already holding a grudge. They already feel like you owe them. Oh, you owe them. And when you're discarded this time, the discard, your pain is going to be worse because you made me work this hard to get you back, to lock you back down because you got out of your place. It's going to take me, now it's taking me even more energy from the feeding that I had. It's taking me more energy to lock you back down. And the harder you make it for me, the worse your discard and your torment is going to be when I pay you back, when I traumatize you, because you're making me work harder and I'm almost on the end of my fuel. My tank is empty and I'm still having to focus on you. Trust you me, a lot of the attention is going towards you, but they still have their feelers out on, because now they're having to balance. That's a lot of work. Now they're having to balance because they're still needing some fuel, but it's not enough fuel because they have to focus all their attention on you. So they're getting fuel, but remember, they're probably talking to the side chick or the side dude, many of them, or one of them, to try to balance them, or try, whatever lie that they're having to come up with, whatever they have to do to try to keep them in their place, but they got to keep that primary in place. That's a lot of fuel. That's a lot of energy, but you're going to pay. You're going to pay. And like I said, the visual evidence of that is when you can tell one is dried out, the other one isn't. One is vibrant and skin is full, the other one isn't. That's when you can tell that a person has been discarded and the narcissist is getting fuel from somewhere else, is when the primary begins to look dried out, or when that secondary source that they were with or doing something with, they begin to lose their level of fuel. That drug is going down in their system. The drug for the narcissist is fuel, not people. Some people assume that, can they ever be addicted to me? They're not addicted to you. They're addicted to fuel, wherever they can get the fuel from. So a lot of, you're trying to rationalize in your mind, well, if we're addicted to them, they can definitely be addicted to the primary. They're not addicted to the primary. They're addicted to fuel, wherever they can get fuel from. And if you, the primary, do not give them the fuel that they're looking for, trust you me, before their tank goes on completely empty, they have to refuel somewhere and then continue love bombing you. And the harder it is to love bomb you and pull you back in, the more you're going to be tormented, the more you're going to pay. That you can tell. So now when you go back and you look at your own pictures and you start thinking, you can almost tell when they had new sources of supply, and when you were being drained, and when you were being love bombed and they were being drained, and the events that occurred afterward, and the type of abuse that you suffered afterward, you and your family suffered afterward. So hopefully this has helped you out today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Carmen Bryant. This is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I have 2 Facebook pages. One is my professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. And my second one is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, which is my book Facebook page. Please subscribe to both, check or thumbs up or like both pages. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload new videos. I come on live whenever I can on Sundays. I usually come on between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time when I'm not on the road. Sometimes I know a lot of you guys are waiting for me between 8 and 9, and the time differences in different countries and different states. And so I try to respect your time. And if I don't come on those times, I usually leave a clip to let you guys know I'm thinking of you so you can start your week off. And so sometimes I can't come on the camera. And so I thank you guys so much for your support. And I thank you guys so much for your love and understanding that. I really appreciate you guys. Also, for those of you that have not purchased my book is Unmasking the Illusion of Perfection. Real stories from real people about their experiences with narcissistic parents, grandparents, partners, high-powered people that were in positions of power and authority, the embarrassment that they felt, the shame and the guilt, educated people in, like I said, high-powered people that were victims of narcissists. You guys are no longer victims. Those of you that are out, you're survivors. You survived this chaos and this, apocalyptic zombie attack, this narcissist attack. You guys survived, and now you have to do some recovery. Some people are just not ready to recover. As a trauma professional, I understand that everybody that comes in, when you tap into that pain and that door opens, some people are not ready to address that pain. Some people are not ready. A lot of you complain about what all that they're doing. You're complaining about, how bad you're hurting and all the things you're doing, but you're not thinking of a plan of escape. And so if you're not ready to go anywhere. If you're not ready to go anywhere, why reach out for help? You're complaining, but you're not wanting to leave. You're wanting them to change. They're not going to change. You have to make up in your mind, what do you want? Do you want a peace of mind? Some people have accepted the fact, I cannot leave and I will not leave. But I need to know what to do to survive. I need to know what to do to keep my sanity. Not with a narcissist. You have to choose. If you're going to stay, you're going to stay. Just be prepared for the ride, because it's going to get worse, and your mental health is going to get worse. Your physical health is going to get worse. But when you decide to leave, the pain that you were experiencing is a pain of recovery. And it's painful to stay or to leave, but the pain of recovery is something I much rather have than the pain of staying and being destroyed. I want to live my life. That's what you have to tell yourself. I want to live my life and I want to grow. But there's growing pains that go along with leaving. So you have to make a choice. You can't just complain all the time, but you don't have a plan to go anywhere. And so hopefully this has helped you. Please purchase the book. It is, for those of you that are not Christians, no problem at all. Take the principles out of the book. A lot of people said that they're not believers of Christ. They don't believe in the Bible, and I provide scriptures to encourage you. And so a lot of people did say that even though I'm not a Christian, I got the principles out of the book, and I found myself in the stories. You'll find yourself how people thought, so you know that you're not crazy and that these experiences are real. We talk about narcissism all the time, but what does it look like when you play it out? Sometimes it's not that easy to catch because you don't know. What does love bombing look like? What are some of the things that were being said? How were some people groomed by their parents, or their mothers and fathers, grandparents or sisters? How were they groomed? And why did they think the way that they were thinking? And it dawned on them like, oh my gosh, I thought like this because, and I didn't know that I came from a family of narcissists, and this is how I was trained to think. And I end up being damaged and end up damaging and hurting my children at the same time, not knowing what I was involved in. And so you'll find your story. It's a quick read. It's an easy read, a quick read, but it's very, very powerful. And so I thank each and every one of you that have supported me and purchased the book. If you look at the links underneath my video, it's Barnes & Nobles and Amazon. You can purchase it ebook or Kindle, or you can purchase it, the copy, so you can hold it in your hand. And also, those of you that have been asking about donating, I have a Cash App and PayPal right underneath my links. And also, those of you who need counseling, that cannot get out and go to counseling, I have a sponsored link underneath my name. A lot of you guys have given reviews and said it is great. You're glad you connected. A nominal fee. I think the first week is free. If you're having financial difficulties, you let them know. They give you a discounted price, but you make sure you get some kind of help. They do Skype, they do FaceTime, they do telephonic counseling. And so this is for some of you guys that are in isolated areas that have no transportation or have no way of getting out. And this is nationwide. You can contact them and you vet the counselor. Find someone that specializes in domestic violence, trauma, a trauma professional, someone that understands psychological torment and trauma on your children. And a lot of you have given great reviews. Nominal fee, probably cheaper than coaching. I know for a fact it's cheaper than coaching. And some of you guys need counseling, not coaching. And so go look under my link. It's www.betterhelp.com/Dr. Carmen. And also, for those of you that are on the East Coast that are coming out, I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. I will be in Greensboro, North Carolina with the beautiful Miss Tiara Carpenter from Project Identity Inc. .org. Go check it out. She has a flyer which has a link to Eventbrite to purchase your tickets. I will be out. She's asked me to come and speak. So I will be there November 16th in Greensboro, North Carolina. You guys come out, bring your books, and I'll sign your books. Come out. I want to meet you guys. Let's talk about it. Let's start from the basics to help you understand what this is. And you guys come out and meet me. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. It's an honor that you guys are on YouTube. It's even more honorable to meet you guys. I want to see who I'm talking to, see who's making comments. You guys come and bring your screen name out so I know who you are. I'll come out there. My name is LaQuisha. I don't know a LaQuisha on YouTube. Tell me what your handle name is. So I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. I'm really excited. There are other events coming up. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see the different flyers that I put up. So if you are in the Seattle area, you'll see different events that are coming up that I am participating in, and you guys are always welcome to come out. Thank you guys so much for your support. Make sure you go over to my mentor's YouTube channel. Is Helen Sadler, Destiny Helper, and she brings you information on narcissist abuse from a biblical and a Christian perspective, a biblical, spiritual, Christian perspective. So you guys can ask a lot of questions concerning narcissism. That is my mentor. That is my presiding prelate and my spiritual mother. And her and I collaborate, and I do the clinical side, and then she brings it to you from a spiritual perspective. And so I thank you guys so much for your support. You guys go and be great.